So, fairly significant deal in our aviation industry, especially at a time when it's been, of course, so seriously hurt because people have reduced travel because of COVID, of course. So when I read this yesterday, I thought, well, I hadn't heard anything about this up until now. Earlier, it had been a story of perhaps Air Canada trying to take over Air Transat. That didn't end up happening. Instead, we find out that Westjet is taking over Sunwing, not just the airline, but their vacation business as well. Wanted to find out a bit more. John Gradek's a lecturer at McGill University Global Aviation Leadership Program. He's on the line right now. John, thanks for being here.
Hey, Aaron, it's a pleasure.
Let me start by asking, does this come as much of a surprise at all?
To me, no. It's been talked about in the industry among those people who follow the industry quite well for about a year. I think the family that owns Sunwing made it fairly clear that they were going to entertain offers for the company, and it's been in play for about a year or so. I think WestJet was finally the company that came forward with an offer and was accepted by the family.
And is this because of what happened during COVID, because fewer people are traveling and the airlines were obviously hurting? Is that part of the reason here, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, the COVID hasn't been easy for anybody in the tourism, hospitality, and airline business. So, I think that our friends at Sunwing did, in fact, go to the federal government for some money. They got about $100 million to refund passengers, as Air Canada got a few more pennies. But they also got another $220 million, I think, for operating funds. So they're into the government for about $320 million as a repayable loan. So they're really behind the eight ball as an entity. So part of this deal with Sunwing being purchased by WestJet was that loan would be repaid to the federal government in its entirety.
So then maybe people are wondering about this thinking, okay, what does this mean in terms of price? Does this mean prices will go up because WestJet now controls that part of the market? What happens here typically?
Well, I think that, if this was the only deal that was going to be happening in the Canadian marketplace, I would say yes, that the odds are that you're looking at, taking a competitor out. But it's not. There's a number of other things happening in the aviation domain that's of note. You have 3 new carriers showing up in Canada. You have Flair, you have Lynx, you have Canada Jetlines, and you also have Porter that's basically bringing in 80 jets sometime over the next 18 months. So there's a lot of capacity going to be offered in the Canadian marketplace by these new players. And that capacity on weekends in the winter is not going to be flying from Toronto to Sudbury or from Montreal to Halifax. It's going to be flying to Mexico. It's going to be flying to the Caribbean, Cuba, Dominican Republic. And so there's going to be a lot of capacity being offered in the Canadian marketplace come next winter and winter 2023, most assuredly. So
you'd have to think with more capacity, prices would start coming down. That's not the impression I get, though.
No, you won't see that happening for a while yet. All that capacity is still to be coming. I think that you're going to be in a situation through summer of 2022 and possibly with winter, with the fall of this year, you'll see some of the prices stabilize and, in fact, start coming down as more and more of this capacity shows up in the Canadian marketplace. So, yeah, the prices won't go down as much as we might want it to go down. All I'm saying is that, the prices won't go up. I think that the new competitors in there will keep the markets in check.
Although, to be fair, I saw a report yesterday suggesting with the price of oil now spiking, across the world, jet fuel does not go unaffected, and that in and of itself could actually bring prices up, at least right now, immediately.
Yeah, I think that, you're talking about, $120 today. My thinking right now is that by the time this thing shakes out in about a month from now, as the conflict still keeps going, we're probably going to be seeing it at oil around 150, 160.
Wow.
And that makes, a big dent in the expenses for a carrier. So there's going to be some rationalization in terms of capacity in the marketplace. Instead of flying 3 times a day from Montreal to Paris, there'll only be maybe 2 flights a day or maybe 1 flight a day. So there'll be some adjustments made by the carriers to reflect the higher cost. And, of course, you'll have fuel surcharges thrown into the mix as well. So, yes, most of that increases in fuel costs will be borne by the customer.
So with respect back to WestJet and Sunwing, this being the case, does WestJet rebrand Sunwing as WestJet, or how's it going to work going forward?
Well, the rumor has it, and it's because these two companies are private, they don't basically do a lot of noise, make a lot of noise about what this thing is going to look like. All we know is that WestJet has said that the Sunwing brand will remain, that the brand will stay in Eastern Canada, and that they will in fact merge the Westjet Holidays brand under the Sunwing Holidays brand. So, it won't be called Westjet Holidays anymore. It's going to be called Sunwing Holidays, and it'll consolidate all of Westjet and Sunwing's operations in the Caribbean.
I think I saw a text go through this afternoon from the Transport Minister, from Omar Al-Gabra, because ultimately the government has to say, yes, this is okay. We're obviously, there's a watchdog in here to make sure that consumers aren't the one hurt by this. You expecting that's going to run into a problem of any kind?
I don't think so. I think that our friends over at Westjet have done a pretty good job of running this by the bureaucrats. Whether it's the Competition Bureau or whether it's the guys in transport. I think that they wouldn't have done this if they hadn't already had a conversation and were unofficially cleared to go ahead. If you have to remember that the Air Canada Transat deal, which was eventually canceled or disrupted last fall, the Canadian government did approve that one. The Competition Bureau did approve it. It was the EU that basically put the kibosh on that deal. So I don't think that there's the track record of the Canadian Competition Bureau and Transport Canada is such that this one will be in jeopardy. I think this one will make it.
I'm just wondering, as you describe this, John, does that mean maybe that Air Transat now can come back into play, given that this deal is going through?
Well, that's a good question. I think that, Air Transat is still on precarious grounds. I think they're still trying to figure out, how to make the profit lines that they should be making. They do have cash, but that cash is being swallowed up by their operations every day. So they're hoping that summer 22 and their North Atlantic schedule will replenish their bank account. And if it doesn't, Air Transat could be in serious debt jeopardy and might have to do something strategically to kind of survive in the medium to long term.
Last question. I noticed Air Canada a while ago, of course, the government injected money to Air Canada. This is going back a few months. And basically since then, the stock really hasn't done much. We all keep assuming now that, travel rules are being eased. We'll see that business pick up. Are you seeing that? Do you get a sense that it's picking up?
Oh, yeah, I think it is. I think that, everybody wants to get out of town. Everybody wants to get out of Dodge and get out of town. So there's a lot of traffic going on these days when it comes to spring break and everything else. So traffic is coming back. But there are some clouds still on the horizon. Everybody's kind of concerned about what's going to happen with the war in the Ukraine and any possible escalation of that war beyond the Ukrainian borders. So anybody traveling into Europe right now is probably, having some second thoughts and maybe some, they're waiting to see how this thing kind of shakes out. So if you're traveling to Europe, traveling to Eastern or Central Europe, there's a lot of concern. And I think that's where if you're flying to Tokyo, if you're flying to Rio, not so bad. But Eastern Europe, Central Europe is probably a question mark at this point in time. Air Canada has been very aggressive in their summer plans to fly into Eastern and Central Europe. That might be under review.
All right. John Gradek, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and insight today.
All right, Aaron. Have a good day.
You bet. So there you go. WestJet, Sunwing getting together. And as he said, it's unlikely that Canada's Competition Bureau will do anything about that. So there you go. New options, I guess, as far as travel goes, especially to leisure destinations.